Today we're looking at Counterspells over Magic the Gathering history. In the beginning, there was the Counterspell. It actually has Counterspell in the name. It's the Counterspell of all Counterspells. Blue, counter target spell. As it's being cast. And actually, this guy's not even countering the spells. His spell is getting countered. How do I impersonate him? How is this happening? So anyway, okay, so we've got Counterspell here. Let's look at a lot of the old classic ones. What was the very first one back in the day? We got Force Spike. Please let it be an April Fool's streams featuring April. It's not even April yet. Maybe for some of you it's April right now. No, it's March 31st. There'll be no April Fool's stream this year. Force Spike. 1 blue! Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. Funny enough, Force Spike isn't even the one that is even the most famous for this effect. The most one is like Mana Tithe. Just because it's in white. It's the exact same thing but in white. And no one sees the Mana Tithe coming. See, like the Force Spike you can foresee, especially in the Pauper games. Pauper, everyone's thinking about Force Spike. And same thing with Daze, very similar cards. But nobody from the Mono White deck or the Boros deck or Selesnya deck is going to be even sniffing out Mana Tithe to the slightest. So I expect to hear some old classic counterspells from you guys. Mana Drain. The funny card was very poorly appreciated at the time. Let's see the OG. I want to see a lot of OG cards. Oh, that's... well, whatever. I got the OG art. Good enough. Blue, counter target spell. At the beginning of your next main phase, add X to your mana pool, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. This was always a cool card. I've always wanted to own this card when I was a kid. But on the other hand, it was not as good back then. Back in Legends? This is what is it? Yeah, it came from Legends. Because you may not be able to spend that extra mana. Like, if you're a blue deck, you're some sort of control deck. You're playing counterspells. What are you going to use the mana for? You need the mana on your opponent's turn when you're countering spells. So anyway, you can't use the mana, and then you're going to get burned. For anyone new to the game right now, there used to be this old rule called mana burn. If you had floated mana and you couldn't use it, it would deal damage to you equal to the amount of mana that you wasted. So if we like counter a 4-drop and then we don't spend that 4 mana, you take 4 damage. That sucks. Anyway, the art makes no sense. Which was the style at the time, the big squig. That was the style at the time. The art didn't make sense. You ever seen Stasis? Like, what does that have to do with anything? But boys are cool. Anyway, Mana Drain. You can tell a card is old if it's an interrupt. Yep, that's right. Now, I don't know the rules perfectly to interrupts. I believe back then you could only play an interrupt in response to like if something was on the stack. Or maybe interrupts can only interact with other interrupts. I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure, I think something has to be on the stack for an interrupt to be played. Yo, little Ted, you're speaking my language. The Power Sink! I had plenty of those when I was a kid. Wow, that's like sort of an updated image. Where's the old... no, isn't there like a really old image? There we go. That's the original Power Sink. Oh, that came from the OG set. That came from Alpha. Blue and an X, target spell is countered unless its caster spends X or more mana. Caster of target spell can't choose to let it be countered. If caster of target spell doesn't have enough mana, all available mana from lands and mana pool must be paid, but target spell will be countered. What? You lost me here. Counter target spell unless its controller pays X. Okay. So you pay... that's actually not bad for the time. So you can pay... in a lot of cases, that will just be blue counter target spell. But you can splash that in a lot of different variations. You could be a blue-red deck. You could be blue-black. That X could be anything that you want. PM with Arcane Denial. Still sees play today, doesn't it? Is this not a Commander staple? Look, they print in a Commander set. It has to be a Commander staple. Okay, maybe I'm not going to look at the old card for everything. This is getting a bit tedious. And also, the old text is just stupid. Okay, but it is an old card. Counter target spell, its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. But you get to draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So everyone gets to draw a card. This is fantastic. Geyer with the super chat. Worst counterspell is Dash Hopes. That is technically a counterspell. I didn't say these have to be blue counterspells. Black, black, instant. One of the, what is this, the planar ones? Where they, like, you know, whatever. The color pie break set. When you play Dash Hopes, any player may pay 5 life if a player does counter Dash Hopes. Otherwise, you're going to counter those spells. What do we got next? We've got, did we do Spell Blast? Spell Blast is also OG. Let's look at the Spell Blast. Blast some spells. We got a blue X. Counter target spell with converted mana cost X. Ah, so you can just pay the mana cost. So if it costs 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana, you just pay that in X and it's countered. Call it the Thinking Mage's version of Brute Force. See, Magic is a thinking person's game. They're already trying to tell you with the blue counter spells, if you're a blue player, you're a thinking player. If you're red and green, you're smooth brain. But boy, do I miss smooth brain Stompy. Abzo with something really simple, Spell Pierce. This came out in Zendikar originally. I can't believe it took that long to make this type of card. 1 blue, instant, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. One of the most versatile counterspells in the game. Sees play in Legacy, sees play in Modern, sees play all around. Maybe one of the best maybe one of the best built counterspells ever in Magic the Gathering. Super fair. And it doesn't touch your creatures, alright? It's not going to touch your Llanowar Elves or your Birds of Paradise, so, you know, relax. Relax. It's basically hitting all the unfun stuff. Dr. Django with Bind. What is Bind here? Counter target activated ability. Draw a card. You got it. That is a counter spell. Counter target activate. You know what would be great if this was triggered as well? Do we have one like that? Like blue 0 counter target activated trigger, but like a stifle with a draw effect on it. I know there's one at 3 mana, but I don't know if there's one at 2 mana. We've done Force of Will, right? We have not done Force of Will. Which I'll be playing in Minneapolis! MagicCon Minneapolis. I'm gonna prepare my legacy for that tournament, for that convention. Yeah, blue, 3 generic. This is like the counter spell of all counter spells. If you're a counterspell player, you don't have this in your deck, like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your lives? It's like, is there a single blue commander deck that does not have Force of Will in it? Blue, 3 generic. But you don't care about that because you're never going to pay for it. Instead, you're going to pay 1 life and exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay that 5 mana cost. And you counter that spell. Yeah, this is the counter spell that beats all counter spells. Yeah, proxy. Okay, what do we got next? Let's go. Yeah, well, we have a bunch of super chats here. We got Herbert with Urtai Scorn. What is this? Blue, 1 generic counter target spell. This spell costs 1 less to cast if an opponent casts 2 or more spells this turn. So basically, it can become like a cheaper counter spell in some way if your opponent's like going off. I've never heard of this counter spell, by the way. I thought I knew every counter spell in the book. You learn something every day. Yoshu with Pact of Negation. You think you're safe if all my lands are tapped? Well, hey, there's Pact of Negation, there's Force of Negation, there's Force of Will. On the other hand, this is a combo player's dream. Because you counter target spell, you can play as many as you want. As long as you have the cards in your hand. With Force of Negation, Force of Will, you sort of need blue cards in your hand, and if you run out, you're screwed. But if you're playing a Pact of Negation deck, you're probably going to win anyway. And we got Alpha Nerd with the Death Grip. Hold on, do we have Death Grip? Did we do that one? No, we didn't. Okay, I'll count this. But it doesn't feel like a counter spell. It's like an enchantment with an activated ability. But it does counter stuff. What do you guys think? Is this a counter spell? I guess we'll allow it. It's a black enchantment, black counter target green spell. That's got to be a beating. Does anyone play this in Legacy? I don't know if green's popular enough. Just counter that Uro all day, all night. It won't work against the elf decks. I don't think so. They've got that new elf that says their creatures can't be countered. Then the Death Grip players are like, oh, damn it. Hey, Plasma says it's a counterspell. Summer says it counts. All right. It's a spell that counters things. It's a counterspell. Well, I consider spells to be on the stack, not on the battlefield, but whatever. Okay, we're going to allow it. We are going to allow it. We got David Soroka, Avoid Fate. You guys are fighting all the non-blue counterspells, and I love it. We got a green instant. Counter target instant or aura spell that targets a permanent you control. You better believe that counts. All right, what do we have here? Frilled Mystic. I should probably have an exclusive video for, like, counterspells that are creatures. Blue, blue, green, green for a 3/2 flash. When it enters the battlefield, you may counter target spell. The Elf Lizard Wizard. So many creature types. They still had room for one more if they wanted. They could put Goblin in there. All right, what do we got? Zach with the Lapse of Sanity. Oh, sorry, Lapse of Certainty. Lapse of Certainty. White, 2 generic instant. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it on top of its owner's library instead of into its player's graveyard. Isn't that like white memory lapse? If a spell is countered this way, put it on top of its owner's library. I think it's just white memory lapse. And you gotta pay more for it for some reason. This is blue 1 generic counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it on top of its owner's library instead of into that player's graveyard. Yeah, same thing. Without a connection of mind and body, magic is just an idea stuck in the head. A word on the tip of the tongue. Well spoken, Lapse of Certainty. Flusterstorm is the one to counter Storm. I have a video coming out that it is really hard to Flusterstorm an opponent's Storm card on Magic the Gathering Online. I learned that for the first time just a few days ago. My opponent played a Storm spell. I tried to Flusterstorm it, and I could not stack the triggers to, like the Storm-triggered cards on the stack to the spells I wanted to counter. It was impossible. I just couldn't do it. Oh, it was brutal. All right, Tail's End. Also, Flusterstorm is very good versus Cascade spells. All right, Tail's End. Blue 1 generic, counter target, activated activated ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell. Very underrated card. I know this is an aspiring Spike favorite. He's played it in many of his decks. Now all we have to do is replace legendary spell with draw a card, and we good! We good! Give it to me, baby. Give me Stifle with card draw on it. Did we talk about Mana Leak? We have not talked. We don't think we said anything about the leak. You know what they should do? There should be an artist altar of like a urinal here. That would be great. The Mana Leak. Blue 1 generic, instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Has anyone used that cheesy line before? Okay, I gotta go take a Mana Leak. I'll be right back. Yeah, I'm off. I'm leaking my mana. Oh my god, I might have an accident. My mana's all over my pants. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we got, oh, we got Alpha Nerd here. I think red and blue elemental blast. Okay, red elemental blast. It's hot. It's a red. Counter target blue spell, destroy target blue permanent. Sees play in every format you can play it in. Legacy, Pauper. It's a Pauper staple. And same thing with the blue elemental blast. This thing can blow up Delver of Secrets. It blows up Murk Tides. It does everything. It also counters spells. Then we got blue elemental blast, which can counter the red elemental blast. Counter targets red spells and also destroys red permanents. This card is broken. This is just insane, to be honest. Imagine if every color had the same ability. I don't even know why red has access to this. It doesn't even make any sense. It's not even on color at all. But I guess blue had one, so I guess they gave the counter to red. By today's standards, I think this is pretty broken. Give it to me in modern. Please, give it to me in modern. Alright, we're going to look at more counterspells over Magic the Gathering history, but we got to thank our sponsor, FusionGamingOnline.com. If you're looking for counterspells, you can find them and also cast them again from your graveyard with Snapcaster Mage. When you look at the deal of the week this week, save 15% off all original Innistrad block singles at FusionGamingOnline.com. Don't forget that you can use coupon code Nikachu at checkout to support the channel and get 5% off all your purchases. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place for renting Magic cards online. When it's a format like Pauper or Legacy and you don't know which counterspells to use for your decks, you can rent them. If they don't work, send them back and try new ones. I've been playing with all sorts of new counterspells these days. Between Force of Will Days, Curse Catcher, Chalice of the Void. Try them all out with Mana Traders. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_U3V. And now back to the beautiful counterspells. We all love our counterspells. Alright, what do we got next? Let's go to Freebie. Last Will. Okay, apparently that card doesn't exist. Sean with Tybalt's Trickery. The counterspell that wasn't used to counter really anything. It was just used as like a combo piece. Red 1 generic counter target spell, but it gets weird. Choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards, then exiles cards on the top of your library until they exile a non-land card with a different name than that spell. They can cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then they put the exiled cards on the bottom of their library in a random order. They tried to cheat Emrakul's and stuff like that on the battlefield at that time. It made the most consistent turn 3 Emrakul deck in Modern. In some cases, I've never seen this thing. Void Chalice? Is that an actual card? I see the super chats. I'm going to get there. Oh, wow. It still finds Chalice of the Void. Now, I don't know. Do we consider this a counterspell? I guess so. It's an artifact. Chalice of the Void enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it because it's got XX in its mana cost. Whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Chalice of the Void, counter that spell. It's a beating if you play it on 0 or 1 against the right deck. And these 8 cast decks, they don't have anything on 0. Sorry, they don't have anything. They don't have any 1-drop, so they can freely play Chalice on 1 in their own deck. For anyone that doesn't play Legacy, they'll have no idea what I'm talking about. But I just wanted to say that. Just wanted to say. We got Charlie Peterson. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I don't know what the sticker looked like, but I'm sure it was great. Everyone else, I'll see it on the replay. We got also Alpha Nerd here. Nullstone Gargoyle stops storm spells. Null Storm Gargoyle. This is Gar, Nullstone. Okay, I'm gonna look up Nullstone. Whenever the first non-creature spell each turn is played, counter that spell. Oh! This is also a very expensive card. This is like 9 mana with 9 mana 4/5 flyer. Guess you gotta tinker this thing into play. Is this a counter spell? There should be like, we should have a show. Does it counter spell? Whenever the first non-creature spell each turn is played, counter that spell. But if we don't play a non-creature spell, then it counters nothing. Whatever. It's gonna count. Nick with the super chat. Keru Spell Snatcher. The Spell Snatcher. A blue 3 generic 3/3 with Morph. Morph for blue 4 generic. When it's turned face up, counter target spell. Now, if that spell is countered this way, exile it instead. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost for as long as it exiled. So you counter, then you steal. Ah, yes. Hence the spell Snatcher. Snatch it up. Stickball Russ was able to turn 0 in Ulamog with Tybalt's Trickery. I remember that. It was amazing. An amazing play. Alright, we got Zach with Obeka counter spells if your opponent is okay with it. The hell does that mean? Obeka? I already got one from you, actually, Zach. You sneaking a second one here. Obeka? Who is this Obeka? I've never heard. Okay, for Grixis and a 1, 3/4, the player whose turn it is may end the turn. Oh, I get it. So they can, so you like, you may end the, you tap, may end the turn. And they have the option to like loop, but what if they say no? I'm bored with now. So what is this, just really only useful for you? Or I guess, oh, if someone tries to do, like, storm off at end of turn, you could, like, say, hey, do you want to end the turn? It'd be beneficial to all of us. And they'd be like, yes. Daniel with, desertion. Ooh, I like the crazy art. Actually, it looks AI generated. We've been watching so many AI generated shows. I can't tell the difference between real crazy art and fake crazy art. Okay, we got blue, 3 generic, instant, counter target spell. If an artifact or creature spell is countered this way, put that card onto the battlefield under its owner's control instead of into its owner's graveyard. Under your control. It's yours now. First the insult, then the injury. You stole it. Chen with Ring of Immortals. What is this? 5 mana, artifact, 3 tap, counters target instant or enchantment. Can only counter spells which target a permanent under your control. This ability is played as an interrupt. Counter target instant or a spell that targets a permanent you control. Wow! I didn't even know this existed. This is $43. This is part of the reserve list. This is a reserve list card. Oh, that's wild. Infinite counters. Don't touch my stuff. All right? Don't touch my stuff. Whoever has the Ring of Immortals is very picky about the touchies. Don't touch them. My stuff is what's yours is yours. What's mine is mine. Nikachu, I sent a banana sticker. Please do Witherboon. All right, well, we'll do Witherboon. Okay. You like Witherboon, huh? Oops. Black, 1 generic, interrupt, pay 3, counter target summon spell. The spell with an activated ability. How does that? Isn't it? Oh no, hold on. They errated this thing. What a weird card. Okay, they errated it. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay 3 life, counter target creature spell. So it came from Mirage. And at that time, I guess you activated abilities while they were on the stack. It is possible. It's not impossible. There are some cards like that. Cronenberg with a Null Brooch. Today's show is like counter spells you didn't know were counter spells. I don't even know what this thing is. 4 mana, pay 2, tap. Discard your hand, counter target non-creature spell. Oh my god, play this ability as an interrupt. So ideally you have no cards in hand, but it is pretty good. Late in the game, you're completely empty-handed. I mean, it's a negate every single turn. That's actually a good one. I like that one. What a sweet counter spell. Approaching Calamity. Wash Away is a commander staple for me. Wash Away, blue. Counter target spell. That wasn't cast from its owner's hand. Or, but if you pay the cleave cost, you can cast this spell for its cleave cost. Then it's just counter target spell. You play with a lot of people casting stuff from the graveyard? Or from exile? Oh, it hits the commanders. Yeah, 1 blue, counter your commander. Bite me. Pay that commander tax all over again. Okay, oh my goodness! The counter spell of all counter spells. So much it's banned in Commander. Okay, Ireo, blue, 1 generic, flying. When the 4th spell of a turn is played, flip Ireo, Soratami Ascendant, and it turns into Ireo's Essence. Counter the first spell played by each opponent each turn. How freaking annoying that is. That's a commander staple. Not anymore. It's gone. It used to be a commander staple. Man, I missed out on those days. I would have played. Yeah, this would have been my commander. Yeah, I'm that type of person. Yeah, I don't care. Play 2 spells in 1 turn, scrub. Yep, you do that. Kevin's like, I totally forgot these cards exist. Yeah, me too. I like this one, Spellstarter Sprite. One of my favorite counterspell. This is modern playable. I think people are sleeping on this in modern. Blue 1 generic for a 1/1 flash flying fairy wizard. When Spellstarter Sprite enters the battlefield, counter target spell with converted mana cost X or less, where X is the number of fairies you control. Amazing in Pauper. Just amazing. Basically hard removal as far as I'm concerned. Removal and it's gone. Alpha Nerd, thank you very much for the super chat. Mana Tides. Yeah, we were looking at that one earlier. It's the force spike people don't see. For a white counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. It's an emotional counter spell. You're doing it to feel good and to make your opponent feel bad. That's essentially it. There's no strategic purpose to this card in my opinion. It's completely useless. If you're playing Mana Tithe in your deck, you're basically you're reducing your win rate just to increase the chances of you salting getting your opponent to salt off. King Ginger with Decree of Silence. What is this? 8 mana. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, counter it and put a depletion counter on Decree of Silence. If there are 3 or more depletion counters on it, sack it. When you cycle Decree of Silence, you may counter target spell. Oh, so basically you get this thing 8 for 8 mana. You can either pay 6 mana to counter something or 8 mana to counter the first 3 things. Is that how it works? Mr. Very Smart. Sunken Field. Blue 1 generic for Enchant Land. Enchant Land has counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. What? What is this? It's like an infinite This is not that bad. I like it. And it's so hard to deal with. You put this on a basic land, it's like indestructible. And it's just constantly threatening to counter your opponent's stuff, so long as you keep that 1 mana up. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. This is insane. I never heard of this card before. Man, the stuff you see in the junk pile. Basically. Red Co with Jwari Disruption. I love this one. Because it's a land, right? Yeah, I think this is a game changer. You can play it as a land, so it can be part of your mana base in Pioneer. But it can be a counterspell. Nobody plays around the Jwari Disruption. Nobody. I've never seen it happen. They just play right into it. You just counter it, and you're good to go. Especially if you play one of these as your land, you know, they're gonna play right into it. They'll be like, what are the odds they got another Jwari Disruption in their hand? Archibald, the Archmage's Charm. What's funny is, this is a funny card because when it first got released for Modern, everyone's like, wow, this thing's busted. It's going to see play everywhere. Then it saw no play anywhere because there were like Hogak decks. There's like way more broken stuff, like way more oppressive decks in the metagame at the time. So it saw no play. And then when they banned all the broken stuff, then it saw a lot of play because it's a Swiss Army knife. You counter spells. You can draw 2 cards, instant speed divination. And also you can gain control of target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less, which is always some stupid tiny creature on the battlefield. Really good stuff. The Monocle Rogue, thank you very much. Spelljack was the ultimate no-you card. Spelljack? You jacking my spells? What is with this guy in the tree? I'm sure there's some flavor text that would have been amazing with this guy. Okay, blue, 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 3 generic instant. Counter target spell. If it's countered this way, remove it from the game instead of putting it in its owner's graveyard. As long as it remains removed from the game, you may play it as though it were in your hand without paying its mana cost. If it has X in mana cost, X is 0. Sweet card. Steal your spell. How you like that? Kalanteras with miscalculation. This should be Modern Legal. This would be an interesting card to be Modern Legal. So it's a blue 1 generic counter spell, cycling 2. So if everyone has like infinite mana, it's okay, cycle it for something better. How different would Magic the Gathering be if we errated every single card to have cycle 2 on it? How different would Magic the Gathering be? I think that would be an interesting experiment, like a variation of Magic the Gathering, or even a Rule 0 in Commander. Everything has cycle 2. So you can just cycle through all your garbage cards. I guess the problem is if anyone has infinite mana combos, then you get to cycle through your entire deck, so maybe that'd be broken. So yeah, I gotta use it so that you can have infinite mana combos at the same time. MG Fox, thank you very much for the super chat. Have we looked at Narset's reversal? No, we have not. Gets around, can't be countered. Not sure if it counts as a counter, though. Copy target instant or sorcery spell, then return to its owner's hand. You may choose new targets for the copy. I'll allow it! It's like remand in some way. It's a weird counter spell. Sean Jackson with Squelch. Like Bind from earlier. Except, oh, that's what I'm oh, but it's not triggered ability. We're so close. If you like, the best would be like blue 1 generic, counter target activated or triggered ability, draw a card, and make it rare. And I think that would see a lot of play. In my opinion, activated and triggered abilities are like free real estate. There's like nothing competing with, very few things competing with them. Okay, we got a blue 1 generic counter target activated ability, draw a card. Okudoku had gone through old emotions. The same Aki curse words, the same ingredients with their horrid stink, the same rude gestures, yet not a person died. Well, you're only at countering activated abilities. What do you expect? Herbert with the overwhelming intellect. So overwhelming. Blue 4 generic instant. Counter target creature spell. Draw cards equal to that spell's converted mana cost. Oh my goodness. So that's not really, sorry. I mean, okay, 6 mana is a lot of mana, but if you pull that off, that's a lot of cards. I mean, late in the game, that's just like counter target spell, refill my hand. That's wild. Tovashell says Censor can counter or cycle too. Yeah, Censor is, I think, the default counterspell in Pioneer? Don't know how often people play this in Commander. But yeah, you can cycle it. You can't play it as a land. But it is good enough. I mean, basically, like, if your opponent's tapping out, counter something. If they're not, pay a blue to get something else. Oh, how did we get this far without talking about Cryptic Command? The command of all the commands. With these fish hook looking things. Counter target spell. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. Tap all creatures your opponents control and draw a card. For a blue 1 generic. Wild card. Tony with Kozilek. The Great Distortion. Okay, does this count? Colorless, 8 generic for a 12/12. When you cast Kozilek, the Great Distortion, if you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. Menace. Discard a card with converted mana cost X. Counter target spell with converted mana cost or X. Wow. Is this the most expensive counter spell in the game? It's like effectively 2 cards and 10 mana. That's a lot of cards. All right, yo little Ted. Got Void Slime here. Yo little Ted likes his Void Slime. Blue, green. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. That is the same thing as a blue one. Oh, so that's what they meant. There was like, they made a blue version of this, just blue 1 generic, basically the same thing, I think. And then they said it was like Void Slime. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Yeah, I think they were like, oh, it's Void Slime. They made a superior Void Slime. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah, disallow. That's what I'm talking about, MG Fox. I didn't know what they meant by that. It's like, I've never seen this card before. But also, I've never seen this card before. So they did upgrade it. Got rid of that green. We don't need that green. Does the same thing. Oh, we got Rambo. Thank you very much for the super chat. Urtai's meddling. For rules, arguments galore. Oh, is that so? Alright, blue X. Okay, I'm not even going to read the regular text. We're going to read the X can't be 0. Target spell's controller exiles it with X delay counters on it. Oh, right. At the beginning of each of that player's upkeeps, if that card is exiled, remove a delay counter from it. If the card has no delay counters on it, the player puts it onto the stack as a copy of the original spell. This is just delay, right? But with upside, because X could be really high. So for a blue 1, it's just delay. Would delay have 2 counters? Spells countered. Exile with 3? Oh, it's 3. Okay, so this is like mini delay, but depending how much mana, it could be a lot of delay. Delay him for days. We got Alpha Nerd with Prismari Command. And it's a blue-red 1 generic. Deal 2 damage to any target. Draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. Wait a minute, this doesn't counter anything. This is a... Where the hell did this come from? Does it even say counter in a single... anywhere around here? There's nothing. It doesn't even counter. Thank you very much for the super chat, though. I really appreciate it. Now we got DM for life. Thank you very much for the super chat. Glad I made the stream. Insidious Will. And I'm also glad you made the stream. Put Emperor Palpatine in the picture here. Blue, 2 generic. Instant. Counter target spell. You may choose new targets for target spell. Or counter target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. That's a neat card. It's accurately like 34 cents, but you know what? In a slow commander game, I think this could be really cool. Alpha Nerd. Alpha Nerd back. Alpha Nerd loves the super chats. Test of talents. Oh, this card. Yeah, blue 1 generic, counter an instant or sorcery spell. Then it's like a surgical extraction. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that spell and exile them. Then that player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. This is a sweet card. Probably underrated. Probably underrated. Bruh! You farted! And I like the picture of the mountain goat just staring right at you at the same time. We got delay. So we just looked at delay. Now we'll look at it more deeply. Counter target spell. If the spell is countered this way, exile it with 3 time counters on it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. It doesn't have suspend. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. It's a suspend now. Redco with rebuff. The Wicked. Rebuffing them. What is this? Okay, white instant counter target spell that targets a permanent you control. Counter target spell that targets a permanent you control. Sure. You got it. Kalanteras with Circular Logic. I remember this back in the day. All right, it's a blue 2 generic counter spell, but it had Madness. So counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 for each card in your graveyard. So ideally you have like a lot of cards in your graveyard, but if you could discard it through some discard outlet like Psychotog, just like he said, Kalanteras said, brutal with Psychotog, you could pay a blue for it, and it just basically counter target spell equal the number of cards in your graveyard. Or like, unless they can pay 1 for each card in your graveyard. Oh, you little Ted, Undermine! I love that card. That's a card that'd be interesting. They brought back Absorb. Absorb is like modern legal, pioneer legal, but they didn't bring back Undermine. Counter target spell, its controller loses 3 life. The funny thing is Undermine's harder to use because if you're a counter player, if you're a control player, you're not really that interested in making your opponent lose 3 life. It's not like you're putting them on a massive clock. But it's still a cool card nonetheless. Alright, what we got here? We got Rewind from Mr. Deadhead. Oh, that is a classic. I love pulling this one off. Blue 2 generic. Counter target spell. Untap up to 4 lands. So it's like you didn't pay anything at all. When you pull off the Rewind, it feels amazing. Cronenberg, not of this world. The Eldrazi counterspell. 7 mana! But hey, here's the deal. Oh, it was actually a tribal instant at the time. Tribal instant, Eldrazi. Counter target spell or ability that targets a permanent you control. None of this world costs 7 less to cast if it targets a spell or ability that targets a creature you control with power 7 or greater. But it's not going to help protect you from your, like, the more common Eldrazi, like Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher, Matter Reshaper. No. Protect the big Eldrazi. Carlos, Lull Mage Mentor for Merfolk deck. Oh, God. Isn't this, like, one of the most... No, oh, this card is only printed once. Blue, 1 generic for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you can make a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token. Yay! Oops, that's not the right one. Tap 7, untap Merfolk you control to counter target spell. But good luck getting all those Merfolk in play. Merfolk are literally fish. They'll die to anything. Literally anything. They're pathetically weak. Alright, where are we here? Yoshu! Jin Gitaxias. I didn't know Jin Gitaxias countered anything. I thought it drew cards. Progress Tyrant. Blue 5 generic for a 5/5. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Ability only triggers once a turn. Whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once each turn. Ah, yes, this is Ireo. Ireo at home. And for 7 mana. It's wild. We got Sean here with the Counterflux. There we go. Red, blue. Instant. Can't be countered by spells or abilities. Counter target spell you don't control. You can overload it, so you can counter everything else that you don't control. We did Dash Hopes already. Super Gabby Bear with Abjure. I think that's an old one. That's an old card. For a blue. Sack a blue permanent counter target spell. What? There's additional cost to cast a spell, sack a blue permanent. What a... That sucks. I don't want to sack my blue permanent. But it is 1 blue. You can sack your commander. Alright, I sacrifice my commander. Because it's coming back anyway. Maybe this card is better than I think it is. Sack a blue permanent for 1 blue, just outright counter a spell. Am I going crazy? Like, is this like a really good... Is this a... I want to say this could possibly be competitive commander playable. Because it's only a single blue. Oh well. Is it Charm? Is it? Blue-red, instant, counter target non-creature spell, unless its controller pays 2. Then, of course, it can loot, and it also deals 2 damage to a creature. Furious Gamer with the Withering Boon. What is... Oh, we did this one. The Withering Boon. We did Dash Hopes! We did it! We've been there before. The Untrained Ear says, Nikachu, of all people, going in on Merfolk. Yeah, I know. Well, I just know the limitations of Merfolk, right? Like, I know, where's the Merfolk? I've never had, like, more than 3 Merfolk on the battlefield before, so how am I going to use this ability? Tap 7 untap Merfolk. It's impossible! It's impossible to have too many Merfolk on the battlefield. Oh, hold on, I got some super chats to get through. We got Alpha Nerd again! Last one, divide by 0. It's all good, Alpha Nerd. Thank you so much. Blue 2 generic, instant, return target spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand, and you learn. Returning target spell. Oh yeah, you return. So it's like a counter spell. All right, we let that reversal, Narset's reversal go, so we'll let that go. Sean Jackson. So glad I made the stream live. Split decision. Blue 1 generic instant, Will of the Council. Choose target instant or sorcery spell. Starting with you, each player votes for denial or duplication. If denial gets more votes, counter the spell. If duplication gets more votes or the vote is tied, copy the spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Oh, wild. So either it's going to get countered or it's going to get worse. That's a wild card. Mage's Contest is really something. What the hell am I looking at? Okay, red, 1 generic. You and target spell's controller bid life. You start the bidding with a high bid of 1! That's not a high. In turn order, each player may top the high bid. The bidding ends when the high bid stands. The highest bidder loses life equal to the high bid if you win the bidding counter target spell. So you just basically have to have more life than them. That is interesting. I bid 1 life, 2 life, 3 life, 4 life, 5 life. No one plays this card. That must be wild in Commander, because you have 40 life to work with. You need to counter anything. Oh my god, oh, where did I see this? Glenelendra! This is one of my favorite Commander counter spells. Oh, they gave her a new art. Alright, it's for 4 mana, a 2/2 fairy wizard with flying. You can pay a blue, sack Glenelendra. Archmage counter target non-creature spell, but she has persist. So after you sack her, she comes back as a 1/1 and you can do it all over again. Carlos with the rune snag. Blue 1 generic. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2, plus an additional 2 for each card named Rune Snag in your graveyard. Not a very good card in Commander. Looks like a pretty poor card in Commander. John Jackson with a Swift Silence. Oh, quiet, you. Swift Silence. Blue, white for 2 generic. Counter all other spells, everything. Draw a card for each spell countered this way. Not bad when the stack is big. Henrik with Warping Whale. Yo, we can't forget about them colorless spells. Warping Whale, colorless 1 generic instant. You can exile target creature with power toughness 1 or less. Really versatile card. Counter target sorcery spell. Put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi sign creature token onto the battlefield. It has sack this creature, add colorless to your mana pool. I gotta remember this card exists. Because I can cast this in Legacy. How can I use this? Counter target sorcery spell. I don't know how many sorceries I can hit, but there's so many cards. So many 1 toughness creatures I can exile. This is a great card to keep in mind. Thank you so much, Henrik. See, if you learned a new counterspell that you could use for your deck, let us all know in the comment section below. Well, there's a million new chats. Apparently, there's more counterspells in this game than anything else. Oh, King Ginger, we got your Glenelendra. Here, we show it to you again. Was it you actually that suggested? I think you suggested it. We also have Ralph Santiago with the super chats. Thank you very much. Equinox is comically bad. But is it a counterspell? Channel land has tapped counter target spell if it would destroy a land you control. It's just protecting itself. It's just protecting itself, that's all. The Big Squig with Counterbalance. Alright, yeah. How did we forget about this one? This is a big counterspell. Blue, enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you can reveal the top card of your library. If you do counter that spell, unless it has the same confirmed mana cost as the card that was revealed. Incredible counterspell. You got cards banned. Oh, an offer. I like that one. Super Gabby Bear. An offer you can't refuse. Gonna make him an offer you can't refuse. For 1 blue, counter target non-creature spell, its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Did this live up to the hype? Out of curiosity, like a lot of people were hyped for this card. A lot of people were against this card, like it's super high risk, no reward. Just counter target non-creature spell. I don't know if this ended up seeing any play. In the competitive formats, it has not. I have not seen a single deck to play this card, but maybe it's more playable in Commander. It's essentially 1 blue, let my combo resolve, damn it. I am not... Grimoire. This is the worst card in the world. This is one of the worst cards in Magic the Gathering. This is probably easily one of the worst counterspells in Magic the Gathering. This is the worst of the worst. This is garbage. Blue 2 generic for a 2/2 Merfolk Rogue. It's a Merfolk? Whoa, how sad. Okay, enters the ballot. When Grimoire Thief becomes tapped, remove the top 3 cards of target opponent's library from the game face down. You may look at the cards removed from the game with Grimoire Thief. Pay blue, sack. Sacrifice Grimoire Thief. Turn all cards removed from the game with Grimoire Thief face up. Counter all spells with those names. It's just terrible. It's miserably bad. And it's like useless in Commander because you won't have multiples. Anyway, I guess it has it's better for milling the opponent out than countering spells. It's just disgustingly terrible. All right, next super chat we've got Sean Jackson again. Thank you very much. Void Mirror. Have we done Lavinia Azorius Renegade? I don't think so. But you choose Void Mirror. Pay 2 whenever a player casts a spell. If no colored mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. Excellent counter spell. Excellent sideboard card, too. Leonardo with a memory. I think we did memory lapse, but just in case we didn't. I know we've referenced it a million times. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it on top of its library instead of in its graveyard. Ah, yes, Absorb. Let's do Absorb. We did Undermine. Now we gotta do Absorb. Blue, white, counter target spell, and gain 3 life. I don't know if spell quality. You know what? That's a no for me, Mr. Little Ted. Is that a counter spell? Faster than you think with Rust. The Rust. Oh, here's Rust. Counter target activated ability from an artifact source. Wow, the flavor. So you rust it away, but it only counters activated abilities. Imagine it's allowed to counter like spells too. So what would that stop by today's standards? I guess you could. You know what? You hit a Grim Monolith or something. They lose their mana, and then it's gone. Fierce Gamer with Mystic Snake. Oh yes, this is the original Frilled Mystic. Mystic Snake, blue, green, 1 generic for a 2/2 snake with flash. When Mystic Snake enters the battlefield, counter target spell. Charbelcher? Oh, you could. Yeah, you could counter Charbelcher with with Rust. Counter Charbelcher. I don't know what else you can hit with this thing. Stops the box. Oh yeah, that's actually a beating. You could Rust hit. See, they were prepared with the answers back then. They were gonna counter like Black Lotuses and stuff. And then it's over. Yeah, Black Lotus, big time stopped. Okay, what else do we have? Redco, thank you very much for the super chat. Ooh, Chancellor of Annex. Honestly, this show is nothing like what I thought it was gonna be. There's like so many non-blue like spell-based counterspells out there. Chancellor Annex is like a 7-mana nonsense angel, but if you reveal her from your opening hand, if you do, whenever each opponent casts his or her first spell of the game, you counter it unless they pay 1. But if it's on the battlefield, then it's like constantly countering things unless you pay 1. And it has flying. Kalanteris, Rust stops Time Vault from giving you a turn. That's right. Or giving them a turn. Arcane Denial we did. Fervent Denial. I don't know about that one, though. We're going to fervently deny things. Blue, 3 generic. Instant counter target spell. With a flashback of 7? This thing sucks! But it is a counter spell over Magic the Gathering history, so it counts. GWJ with the super chat. Diffusion Sliver. Blue, 1 generic, 1/1. Whenever a sliver creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability, an opponent controls counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays 2. It's got a little bit of counter spell protection around here. You gotta protect yourself if you're a sliver. We got Yoshu! Jace, Unraveler of Secrets? Jace, Unraveler. Oh, is this a counter spell? This is a Planeswalker. Scry 1, draw a card, return target creature to its owner's hand. You get an emblem with, whenever an opponent casts his or her first spell each turn, counter that spell. I love the emblem. Getting to there is the problem, though. What's the... Rishadan port. What's the flavor text? Rishada is the gateway to free trade, but the key will cost you. Do you want? That's not really what I wanted to say here, but it's like, it looks really appealing, but you'll probably die trying to get that emblem off. In some sense, it is a counterspell. Alright, anyway, Anna, did we do odds ends yet? No, we did not do odds ends yet. Odds ends. It's one of those spells. Hold on, hold on. Odds and ends. Instant, flip a coin. If it comes up heads, counter target spell. Sorry, counter target instant or sorcery spell. If it comes up tails, copy the spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Ah, one of those. And if you don't want to do anything with odds, you can do something with ends. Target player sacks 2 attacking creatures. Oh, that's busted. Who is that at the top? You see that guy? Isn't that the guy from Silver Surfer? I swear this is the guy from Silver Surfer on the right. Galactus or something like that. I don't remember the names. I don't know the Silver Surfer lore very well, to be honest. Oh, I saw Hullbreaker Horror somewhere in here. Oh, you guys, Hullbreaker Horror, absolutely. Like, drafting this thing is insane in Cube. I've won so many games just by having this as my only win condition. It's a 7/8 flash that can't be countered. However, whenever you cast a spell, return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, and return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. It's like, it's one of those, like, sort of counter spells. It's counterspell-y enough. Counterspell-y enough to work. Forbid, that's an OG! Before they got crazy! So blue 1 generic counter target spell you can buy back by discarding 2 cards. Lord Magicus, you're not around often enough. People spam all the time. Okay, we got Furious Gamer with the Ring of Immortals. Oh, we did this one already. Redco, back with the super chats. Valkmira, Protector's Shield? Oh, is this on the other side? Aha. Alright, so we've got white 3 generic. If a source an opponent control would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, prevent 1 damage. Whenever you or another permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless they pay 1. What we got here? We got... thank you very much, Robert! Mirror Shell Crab. The hell is this? Should see more play. Mirror Shell Crab! Looks like he's ready to molt. Blue 5 generic for a 5/7 artifact crab. It's a machine. Ward 3 with channel of a blue 2 generic. Discard Mirror Shell Crab, counter target spell or ability unless its controller pays 3. That's not bad! I agree. I don't even think many people even know this card exists. So it's like a win condition late in the game, but you can also pay 3 mana, basically counter, but you counter abilities. You're totally right, Robert. I don't even know anyone knows this card exists. Like, these days in spoiler season, I don't look at any of the cards. Seriously, I look at none of them. It means they mean nothing to me. I just wait for cards to show up in competitive play. I think that's OP. That's a pretty OP card. I mean, it's at worst a like 3 mana card, but then I can tick my vial up to 7 and put a 5/7 crab in play. Pretty cool card. Thanks for sharing. Sean Jackson! Trickbind. Oh, I like Trickbind. It's a good one. Split Second! F your Thassa's Oracle. Counter target activated or triggered ability. If a permanent's ability countered this way, activated abilities of that permanent can't be played this turn. So no more. Yeah, the crab is basically an uncounterable mana leak. It is. Pretty cool stuff. And we got Yo Little Ted with the Nyx. What is this? Counter target spell unless a counter target spell that spent no mana on it? Counter target spell if no mana was spent to play it. Got it. Alright, well that's it. That's it for the show. Is there any more super chats? Am I missing anything? Trick bind, use after 2 Pact of Negations. Alright, well with that... Apparently, there's like a million counterspells. I guess we could be a little bit more refined next time. Oh, the big squid gonna lock me in here for one more super chat. Dovin's veto. We have a white-blue instant. This spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell. Yeah, counter target super chat. All right, that's it for today's show. Maybe we'll do this again, but we're gonna be like more refined, like every white counter spell, every blue, every red counter spell. Because apparently there's like a billion there's way more counter spells than I thought there was over Magic the Gathering history. They gave up to like all different colors too. Really should end with an OG counter spell. Days. I don't know how OG that is, but we didn't have that one. Return an island to your hand rather than pay Days' mana cost. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. Or maybe like counter spells that cost nothing to cast. I don't know. Alright, you know the deal. If you want to be part of the show, you got to be here Monday to Friday, 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you very much, everyone, for your support. Everyone who's a member on YouTube and also a patron on Patreon, and everyone who super chats to be part of the show and also contributing to the channel. And because of that, I'm here every morning. But most importantly, thank you very much, everyone, showing up in the morning. PM, the Big Squid. We got Bread, Yo Little Ted, Christian, Plasma, Robert, King Ginger, Sean Jackson, and a PM, Kev, Mr. Deadhead. Thank you all for being part of the show every morning. So as usual, my coffee crew, keep brewing up those coffees, and we will keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you